In the world of General Hospital, love stories are rarely simple, and for Carly Spencer, this new chapter in her romantic life has rewritten everything she thought she knew about trust, loyalty, and the meaning of connection. When Jack Brennan came into her orbit, it wasn't just a flirtation or a fleeting distraction from past heartbreaks. It was the start of a seismic shift in how Carly saw herself and her place in the world. For a woman defined by years of chaos, betrayal, and control, this relationship carried a disarming calm and unexpected sincerity. But that calm would prove deceiving, for beneath it ran an undercurrent of deception poised to destroy everything. The arrival of Brennan, first portrayed by Charles Measure and later seamlessly taken over by Chris McKenna, could have been just another blip in Carly's long history of dangerous entanglements. But something about this man drew her in deeper. Unlike Sonny Corinthos, whose love often came with volcanic arguments and possessiveness masked as passion, Jack offered something new: clarity. There were no raised voices, no veiled threats, no emotionally manipulative apologies. With Brennan, Carly felt heard, respected, seen. It was intoxicating in its unfamiliarity. And for once, she wasn't second-guessing herself or looking over her shoulder. Yet, those around Carly weren't convinced. The people who loved her most, Jason Morgan, Lucas Jones, even the quiet concern in Drew Kane's eyes, issued the same warning over and over: Jack Brennan is not who he seems. But Carly, ever defiant and fiercely independent, dismissed their concerns. She refused to let the cynicism of her past color this rare, unfiltered joy she had found. To her, Brennan was the man who chose her not out of obligation, but desire. He didn't need to be part of her world, but he wanted to be, and that was a distinction that mattered deeply to Carly. What she didn't know, what no one could imagine, was that Brennan's interest in her life extended far beyond romantic intent. Embedded in this carefully cultivated relationship was a covert mission with roots in global intelligence, one that drew in not only Carly but the person she held most dear, her daughter, Jocelyn. It wasn't just romantic betrayal that awaited Carly, but a betrayal of blood. Behind closed doors, in secure WSB facilities and quiet, coded conversations, Brennan had approached Jocelyn months earlier. He saw in her the kind of intelligence and boldness that couldn't be taught, traits he believed could be honed for national service. In recruiting her to work on a classified operation that involved surveillance and psychological profiling, particularly targeting individuals like Cyrus Renault, Jack crossed a line he couldn't uncross. Worse, he never told Carly. When Laura Wright, the actress who brings Carly's fire and fragility to life, spoke of this twist, she described it as a complete break from Carly's previous patterns. The chemistry between her and Brennan, she explained, was unlike anything Carly had experienced before. But she also warned that once the truth about Jocelyn's recruitment came to light, Carly's response would be nuclear. Not just because she had been left out of the decision, but because it reawakened every maternal instinct she had fought so hard to sharpen over the years. To Carly, motherhood is sacred. It's what kept her alive through mental breakdowns, mob wars, and betrayals. It's the one aspect of her identity she has never questioned. So discovering that her partner not only withheld critical information but used her daughter as a tool in a global intelligence game was not simply an emotional betrayal, it was an existential one. As news of Brennan's dual role began to surface, the corridors of General Hospital buzzed with quiet speculation. Jocelyn, torn between duty and devotion, struggled with guilt. She believed in the work, believed in the mission, but never expected it to come at the cost of her mother's trust. When Carly finally confronted her daughter, it wasn't anger that surfaced first, it was heartbreak. And in that moment, Carly was no longer the fierce, unyielding woman the world knew. She was just a mother who had been left out of a decision that could cost her child everything. The question that now haunts Port Charles is whether Carly can ever truly forgive Brennan, or Jocelyn. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Carly, who has spent decades navigating gray moral terrain, may now find herself unable to accept the very kind of choices she has made in the past. The double standard isn't lost on her either, and that internal conflict will threaten to undo her more than any external enemy ever could. Chris McKenna's portrayal of Brennan adds a complexity that keeps fans guessing. Is he a patriot with misguided methods or a manipulator cloaked in charm? His interactions with Jocelyn suggest genuine mentorship, even admiration. But to Carly, those distinctions won't matter. What matters is that trust, her most fragile currency, was spent without her consent. As this storyline builds toward its inevitable explosion, fans are bracing for what may be Carly's most emotionally volatile chapter yet. Will she retreat into herself, rebuild from the ashes, or strike back with the full force of a woman scorned by both lover and child? And what of Sonny, who watches from a distance with that familiar blend of judgment and longing? He's seen Carly fall before, but this time, the wound is different. Deeper. More personal. And perhaps Sonny, as flawed as he is, knows exactly how this will end, because he's the only one who's ever seen the look Carly has in her eyes when she decides that love is no longer worth the cost. For now, the town holds its breath. Carly has always been a fighter, but this time, the enemy isn't someone she can confront with a well-timed outburst or a dramatic exit. This time, the battle is within. And if there's one thing Port Charles has learned, it's that when Carly Spencer turns inward, the fallout is never contained. In the end, Jack Brennan may have awakened something beautiful in Carly, but he also ignited the storm that might just bring her world to its knees.